Hey YouTube, it's Dimitri, and today we're going to talk about LeakyCon 2019 preparation. I went last year in 2018, had a blast. This year I am going with Marauder passes, but let's just dive on in here to some tips and tricks on how to have the most fun as possible. Alright, so the first tip here is plan the events based on your favorite, most interesting topics. So go through the schedule before you go, pick out the most interesting topics. I know there's going to be a ton of topics that just seem really great and wonderful, but go through and try to pick out at least a few for each day that you're there. Just like the main topics that you just can't miss. They look like the best topics. Schedule those into your schedule first, because if not, you might miss them. Which leads us to our second tip here, which is get there early. So last year I had a schedule and I scheduled like everything out. Me and my wife put all this schedule together. You know, we had to go here and here and here, and it was very detailed and it was great. But the issue is sometimes you're wrapping up one event that's like, it's interesting, but it's not necessarily like one of your top events. And then you run to the second event and you're there before it starts, but there's a huge line and then you don't get in because there's not enough seats. So going back to that first tip, right? Schedule out the ones that you absolutely want to make, and then kind of add in around those ones like the other events that you might want to attend, and then plan on getting to your favorite ones there early because you might not get a seat. So the next tip is adding in your autograph sessions if you're going to do any. So a lot of people are super excited to meet people from the movies. Everyone we met last year was really friendly, but just schedule them in around your main events. They typically come twice from what I remember. But then you can say, okay, you know, I have this great event at 10 a.m. They're doing autographs at 10 a.m., but they're coming, you know, tomorrow at, you know, I don't know, 10:30, 11 o'clock. Schedule those into your schedule after you have your kind of main events and talking sessions kind of scheduled in. And our next point here is dress up a little bit. So I'm not a huge cosplay kind of person. I don't really dress up, and I'm not super into it in that aspect. But I wore a scarf the second day. The first day I didn't wear anything. I felt a little out of place because realistically, there are a lot of people in costume. There are a lot of huge Harry Potter fans there. So here's like some pictures of people and kind of events and things. It was great. People are really dressed up. Just kind of like jump on the bandwagon here and realize you're not in the real world anymore. Everybody here is Harry Potter focused. Everybody's having a good time. If you're not dressed up, you are going to stand out somewhat just because you're not kind of like fully embracing the event and the experience as it is. If you have downtimes in your schedule, so don't actually plan everything, you know, minute by minute, but if you have downtime, the main stage is a good option to go to. There's usually something interesting going there. There might be an interview with someone that was in a movie. The costume cosplay competition event goes on during part of the 3 days. It is awesome. There are some crazy costumes out there. So that's actually something fun to do as well, and kind of like your downtime between the main talking events. So if you want some quiet time, something a little less intense, because sometimes there's a ton of people everywhere, you can go to the 4 houses. So Slytherin, Gryffindor, Ravenclaw, and Hufflepuff all have their own rooms that are decorated by some of the staff that run the event. These are better again for kids as well because they typically have like a few board games like checkers or like a puzzle to do. It's quiet. If you need quiet time, this is kind of the place to go get it because you'll avoid a lot of the crowds and the people. But that's kind of a good idea if you want some downtime in between your different kind of events that you're going to be attending. And then next is Butterbeer. I was not the biggest fan of it. It's just really, really sweet, to be honest. But I think it is worth trying once. So if you're going to do this, avoid the long lines. If you get there early in the morning, usually you can get in line and get a Butterbeer before all the crazy long lines. When the morning gets a little bit later, that's when the lines get really long because a lot of the general public starts coming and then you have to wait in line for like 20-30 minutes to get a Butterbeer. I don't think it's worth it at that point. And then late in the afternoon, I think a lot of people have either left or they've kind of attended everything they wanted to and then they've left, or it's just kind of slowed down. That can also be a great time to get your Butterbeer. Try to get it at those lulls. It will make your life a lot easier and a lot less stressful. And then the last tip here is bring a little bit of spending money. I didn't actually plan on buying anything, but my wife came with me and we went through some of the stores, and there's a lot of trinkety just junk, which is okay. But there's also some really cool stuff. So my wife has the Deathly Hallows earrings. She bought a few pairs for friends of hers. They have chocolate frogs. They have like a couple just cool, you know, Harry Potter themed items that would be awesome to get. They had some really cool t-shirts as well. So just bring a little spending money in case. If you're going to be there the whole day, I would plan on eating lunch there. The food is just general like convention food, so nothing great. If you wanted to leave, you can, but the Dallas Convention Center is a little bit away from actually like the downtown area. So it might take you like 10-15 minutes to walk to go get it and 10-15 minutes to come back. Dallas does have the little scooters. So if you have the app, like the Lime app or like the Jump app, you can use that and scooter your way over and get lunch if you want. That's another idea. But just plan on spending the day at the convention center because realistically, you might miss some events if you're busy trying to leave the convention center and then come back. That's just kind of my tips for that. And then finally here, the people that do the events, that host like the talking points, they're the ones that are going to make this interesting. I don't know how you choose the best people, but we kind of switched last year. So Jackson Bird, I looked and did not see him coming this year. I am extremely disappointed in this because we went to one of his events and he was great. He knew a ton about Harry Potter. There's a lot of canon, so things that aren't officially Harry Potter, but more or less speculation and kind of people's theories and opinions. He made it really interesting. And so after I found him in like the first ones, we kind of adjusted our schedule and saw which ones he was speaking in. And then we went to those actual events just because he was a great speaker. This year, there's a few familiar faces from 2018, but a lot of them looked new for 2019. So I don't really know what to recommend here on the speakers. Again, choose topics that interest you personally. If you do, it will be a lot more enjoyable and a lot more interesting. I'm not like a super crazy Harry Potter fan. My wife is, so that's why I ended up going the first year. But I'm actually pretty into it this year because I'm like reading the books, I'm getting into the theory behind it and then learning all like the interesting tidbits and the different canons. And then also learning people's different opinions. So I went to one of the discussions on like the Slytherin group, right? And they started talking about how it's not popular to be a Slytherin. And then people in the crowd started pitching in on, I'm a Slytherin because of X, Y, and Z. They originally thought I was a Hufflepuff, or I thought I was, a Ravenclaw, or I thought I was a Gryffindor. And of course, everybody wants to be a Gryffindor. And they start going into this. It makes it interesting and exciting. So if you find someone that's in one of the events that's a speaker and they do a good job, I can almost guarantee you they will do a good job in any of the events they are speaking in. I can't recommend anybody because I don't really know too many people in 2019 that were awesome that came from the 2018 Dallas LeakyCon. But those are my tips and tricks, guys. I hope you have an awesome time at LeakyCon, and I hope to see you there.